All right, welcome to Talking Television. Tonight we're talking about Chernobyl, which is a new limited series on HBO. Episode 1 aired tonight, so we're going to dive into that and discuss it a little bit.
Yeah, I think there's only 5 episodes total in the miniseries, so...
Yep, should be nice and quick, and I'm sure it'll be eventful based on true events. So tonight we are drinking New Glarus Moon Man. This is a no-coast pale ale. We are in Wisconsin, so this is the only place you can get it.
It is, and it's extremely popular here, and I don't drink it. I don't know. I'm not a beer guy.
I have to say New Glarus is one of my favorite brewing companies, so I'm happy to be in Wisconsin so I can enjoy it.
Okay.
But if you guys are ever in the area or you haven't tried it, Moon Man is tonight. I'm sure we can try and go through some of the other ones that they have available as well.
Yeah, Spotted Cow is probably their most famous, type of beer. So, yep. But Moon Man is definitely pretty popular too. So
it is.
Well, we'll get through it.
Excellent.
All right. So Chernobyl. I mean, I think everybody has heard the name. I don't know if everybody knows exactly what happened. I mean, you can go online, you can read about it and stuff, but I think the general public just knows that there was some sort of nuclear meltdown. And that's pretty much it. Yeah,
it took place in April of 1986, was actually right before I was born, so a little bit before my time. But even with that, growing up, Chernobyl, it's pretty a common household name. People recognize it with a big tragedy, So this show is going to kind of give the why and the what happened to cause it, so...
Yeah, it seems to be very factual, and try to get a lot of the details in there that a lot of people don't know about. So
yeah, which is really intriguing to me because, like I said, I've heard about it. I know some details, but I'd really like to know the truth, let's say, or some more details about it.
Yeah, so this episode is entitled 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or I think it's 1 a.m., 23 minutes, 45 seconds.
Yeah.
And that's when the main protagonist takes his own life, right? He's the hero of this. So, let's see. So he's played by Jared Harris, and he's playing Valery Legasov.
Yes.
We're going to butcher a lot of these Russian names, so bear with us, guys.
Bear with us, please. We'll do our best.
So I think the first thing I noticed is there's really 2 or 3 big name actors in this, very accomplished actors, and then almost none of the rest do I recognize. So
yep.
They picked a lot of unknown people, I think, to really give them a chance to shine. So,
well, and unfortunately, a lot of these people die really quickly too.
Yeah, absolutely, right away in the
especially in this first episode.
Mm-hmm. So we kick back 2 years in one day.
1 minute.
Oh, in 1 minute.
Yes.
Yeah, 2 years and 1 minute before his death, and we were in a firefighter's apartment, and his wife is just walking around, getting food or something in the middle of the night, and you see in the background the explosion, and there was no build up to it, no nothing. We just get thrown right into it, and it was an interesting editorial choice to do it that way.
Yeah. In fact, the creator kind of talked about it at the end. He said he didn't want the hero. He actually hung himself. So after he dictated these tapes, he brought them outside, and he came into the house and he offed himself, and then the explosion happened. So they didn't want the season to be about that, about us waiting until the very end to see our hero pass away or kind of anticipate what's going to happen to him. He wanted it to be about the actual fallout and the people involved, how it happened, and what they did to...
One of the things the series is really going to do a good job at, and I'm just guessing here, but it's going to kind of be rewriting history, so kind of giving the heroes that were there and on the ground and actually trying to put things out and save lives a chance to shine. As opposed to the official history books and everything. When it was first released, there was a lot of propaganda. So
yeah, which they really highlight in this episode.
Yeah, right away.
Yeah, the director, all the state officials, they have a big meeting to discuss what happened, and they really want to minimize it, saying that the readings are minimal, they're not that bad, we can handle it, everything's under control, nothing is leaking, we got this, and it's not true. The regulators, they question them, and I think the older gentleman at the end of the table, he's some sort of important person. I think he was a judge or some sort of political figure.
Yeah, some sort of political figure.
He basically tells everybody, this is what we're going to do. We're going to lock the city down, nobody in or out.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to bring in the military, and we're going to contain this. And this is Russia. This can't happen to us. So we're gonna lock it up.
So speaking of Russia, similar to the other show that we've been watching, Warrior, most of this is in English.
Yes.
But Warrior did a really good job of showing that they're not really speaking English and then flipping around just so we could understand it easier. This show had like one line of Russian and then it just flipped to English the next sentence. I mean,
yeah,
it's kind of jarring.
They didn't attempt with subtitles, or they kind of just made it in English.
Yeah, I mean, for an American series, it makes sense to have it in English. You're not going to read subtitles for 5 hours.
But I think that's what, going back to Warrior, was really creative about the way that they switched it from English or Chinese to English.
Yep.
So we didn't have to read, but it's understood that, hey, they're still speaking this language.
Yeah, I mean, they set the bar now so high that, I mean, all these other shows we're going to be holding up to Warrior.
What do you do now? I think the only thing that was in Russian was, which I'm also curious if it was the real call. There was a part where it was like a 911 call or a call to the director's office, maybe, where they're explaining what happened and call everybody involved because something bad is going on.
Yep.
So
it sounded authentic.
It sounded really authentic, and that was in subtitles. So we'll have to do a little bit more research about that.
Yeah. So right after the explosion, we see the guy that was kind of running the test and the overnight shift goes out to start walking. He tells people, "Oh, nothing's wrong. It's just a fire. We've seen this before." And he walks out there, and one of the first things he noticed, he's looking out on the roof of another building, and you can see all the chunks of graphite out there. And they don't really explain it a whole lot yet, but that's pieces of chunk. Yeah, it's the most radioactive pieces of metal out there. And we see that later with another firefighter who picks one up, and he's immediately, his hands, bleeding
off,
and
basically.
Yep.
Yeah, that seems to be a really brutal way to go. Some radiation poisoning just melts you from the inside, the outside. It looks like a horrible way.
Yeah. So the disaster really stemmed from a lot of poor decision making and mismanagement, and it looks like they're highlighting that because that's factually what happened. So.
Yeah, the directors denied it though. They're
denying everything.
Yeah, they didn't want to seem like it was their fault at all, that they did everything correctly. But the two engineers that were performing the test, that's what actually caused this. They know what they did. And towards the end of the episode, they're actually sacrificing themselves to go and manually open valves to get some water flow into the other reactors. So, yeah, they deny it for a while, and then they break down and say, yeah, we did something wrong here.
Yeah, and part of the reason there's some misinformation is they were taking readings of the amount of radiation using a machine that maxed out at 3.6 whatever the reading is, and they started using that number of, that's what the machine said, which is technically true, but
it was pegged.
Yeah, it was pegged. Yeah. It was maxed out. So
and then they had a more expensive meter locked in a safe, so they finally got that out, and it immediately shorted out.
And that one went up to 1,000.
Yeah. So then they found a secondary one that went up to 200, and that one pegged out.
Yep.
And the engineer that said his guy took the reading, said they did it multiple times, and yeah, this is really what's going on here.
So I think the creators took a little bit of creative liberty in this fire's going on over at the power plant, and you see a lot of the families down the road in the city of Pripyat, where all the engineers and everybody lived, and they're like, oh well, there's a fire, let's go see if we can watch it. And they go out to this bridge, and you start seeing fallout and ash come out of the sky, and they're dancing around and like playing in it almost like it's snowing, and I don't think we know if that's what actually happened. I think that was just some, extra creative liberties they took
Yeah, yeah.
to show that maybe they weren't scared of it.
And that it was, yeah, it wasn't scary. People, they didn't know what was happening. They were kind of enjoying it. It was, lighting up the night sky, so it was pretty to look at. And yeah, it looked like it was snowing, but the radiation poisoning was already in effect, and all the children were out. And
that's the worst part, was seeing the kids playing in it.
Yeah,
and
it's just
hopefully
foreshadowing,
they don't revisit that.
What's going to happen. You could see the next day when the smoke, dust cloud was kind of heading towards the city, that the wildlife was dying, that the plants were already turning brown.
Yeah, all the trees were turning
in the
brown.
direction of the downwind. So, really dangerous, really powerful stuff, and it immediately took effect.
So the officials we talked about earlier decided, hey, you know what? We're going to seal off the city, cut the phone lines, control the flow of misinformation, or what they call misinformation, but and honestly would be information.
Truth. Yeah, it's the truth.
So I think we're going to see more of that the next episode, because so far the police, they call them, or army, hasn't arrived yet. And I think that's what we're going to see.
Yeah, they left it where the public doesn't expect anything coming. That the only people that really start to see what's happened is the hospital. They were just having the normal night, a couple babies coming, and then, yeah, the morning shows up and it's just a line of ambulances coming towards the hospital.
Another part we saw leading up to that was one of the engineers who seemed to actually know what was going on and that there was a big leak, tried to warn them, and they said, oh, there's no problem. And in fact, you're going to go up on the roof and take a look and make sure there's nothing up there that's going to harm people. And he's out there for a few seconds and he's got radiation poisoning all over his face and everything.
Yeah, exactly. He knew it was his death sentence, basically, but
Yep.
They had the guards escort him up there to look at what he told them was there. The core exploded. I don't know why this happened, but it did.
Right.
And there's graphite chunks, scattered throughout the whole site.
Yeah, and that's a little bit of foreshadowing for later. If you don't know what happened, getting that graphite off the roof is going to become a pretty major endeavor. So, yeah, that's tough.
Yeah, what to expect is going to be the cleanup process, the containment process, a lot of death and sadness coming from this event. So,
well, we kind of left off this episode with the families kind of waking up in the morning outside playing in the the courtyard and stuff. So I think we're going to see a major shakeup with that very early in the episode. Maybe the army will arrive and shut things down. And
yeah, and we'll see. It's going to be pretty bad. The whole series looks to be really gray and bleak, which the event was. So
yeah, absolutely. I mean, they're not trying to shine it up. Absolutely.
Yeah, the tone of it looks to carry that throughout.
And I think it's a respectful tone because a lot of people died. There's a lot of bad decision making that just led to needless deaths. So looks like they're showing respect to the people that gave their lives to save others. So
that pretty much wraps up episode 1. We'll follow this throughout the season and see how they treat the fallout and kind of where they take it. See if there's any more liberties we think they took or how factual they were.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, thanks for sticking with us, guys.
Yep.
We will be back next week with episode 2 of Chernobyl. Like we said, there's 5 episodes, so we will also be back this weekend with Warrior and Game of Thrones season 8, episode 5.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, so check us out, Southport Media, as always, on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. All the support is great. Like and comment, subscribe, and let us know what you think. We'll be here for the next one.
Yep. Thanks guys.
Yep.
Cheers.
Cheers.